Comfortable, safe, eco-friendly, high-speed, and even romantic. All this can be said about Kyiv trams. Some people commute every day listening to the sound of the wheels, while others look for new impressions. 125 years ago, the first electric tram in Kyiv started its work here. Back then, a brand new vehicle for the city connected the entire Europejska and Kontraktova squares. The Kyiv electric tram became the first of its kind in the former Russian Empire and one of the first in Eastern Europe. The steep Dnipro slopes could not be conquered by steam-powered trailers. Horse-drawn carriages couldn't cope with the slopes either. On the night of May 2nd, 1892, the first electric tram cars came to our city. They were two-axle tram cars. At that time, it was quite an interesting novelty. In the first months, hundreds of Kyiv residents boarded the unprecedented means of transport to make an exciting trip of only a kilometer long. In the early 20s, the rails appeared almost in all parts of the city. Back then, it was possible to get by tram even to the suburbs, and the peak of the Kyiv tram network development came in the 60s and 70s. If we could go back in time, let's say to 1975, we would be able to get from one corner of Kyiv to the other by tram without any difficulties. And 20 years later, trams could have completely disappeared from the streets of the Ukrainian capital. But it all boiled down to a significant reduction in routes in the city center and the division of the network into two separate parts, the right bank and the left bank. The first thing that marked the destruction of tram traffic in Kyiv was the liquidation of a rather popular line at that time along Vorokhovska Street. The most tragic page in the history of the Kyiv trams was the liquidation of the line along the Payton Bridge. 13 years ago, there were tram routes that connected ancient Podil with the left bank part of the city. Today, only the commemorative sign to the first electric tram in Kyiv reminds us of that. Taisia, a resident of Kyiv, also regrets that there are no longer rails on the Dnipro embankment. She remembers looking out over the river from the tram window on the Rusanivka-Podil route. Podil is the region of Kyiv which is under the sign of the Virgo, and Virgo is my sign of the zodiac. Therefore, I feel comfortable here in this area. I come here to relax and recharge, and see the trams. That too was my favorite. Trams! One of the most interesting, alluring routes for the guests to the city is the one from Podil to Pushyavaditsia. Ludmila from Poltava had to book a ticket a few days in advance to get a tour. I got a lot of pleasure from it. I learned a lot. We breathed fresh air. Everyone is happy. But this guest from Lviv wasn't so lucky, though she didn't say no to the idea of seeing Kyiv from the window of a tram. We read about this online. We wanted to see Kyiv quickly and in an interesting way. We have interesting tours in Lviv by tramcar, so we wanted to see how it works in Kyiv. Valentina and her husband have been in charge of a tram for 46 years now, and she has been a tram driver on the excursion car cafe for 12 years. She doesn't plan to retire anytime soon. Whatever you do, you have to actually work. But here, there's a little more responsibility because, God forbid, if something happens, you need to resolve the problem quickly so that people don't get angry that we have not taken them to the destination. In recent years, most of the rolling stock have undergone major repairs. On the high-speed tram line, there is a new generation of silent cars. Kyiv residents and city guests believe that the tram will never disappear from the streets.